this world, I can feel the pressure, but I can take it 'cause I'm not alone. Where the truth is given me to guide me through the darkness. I was so trapped, but he set me free.
Back to maintenance. Today I wanted to go over some things that can go wrong when replacing switches or outlets. Not so much switches, but more outlets. Well, it can go wrong with switches as well. You know, the main thing that can go wrong with switches and outlets is if you nick a wire when you're going to strip it. You know, any poor connection or a nick in the wire or losing strands if it's a braided wire. These can be places that heat can build up if you have a poor connection, or if the wire has a nick in it, then heat can build up there as it tries to pass through the smaller capacity of where the wire is nicked. It can heat up, and that's what can cause a fire. Miswirings that can happen, you know, if someone put a hot wire where a neutral wire where the hot wire should go, or hot wire where the neutral can go, generally that would cause a short at the breaker. But if the entire outlet was wired backwards, so if you put the hot side's supposed to be on the brass side, if the hot side was put on the neutral side, on the silver side, and the neutral side on the brass side, you know, wired backwards, it wouldn't really show up. It just, the outlet would be, polarity would be wired backwards. It wouldn't short the breaker. But if the wires were crossed, neutral to hot, boom, breaker would trip. Other things that can be wrong is if you had a switched outlet. If you had both hots hooked up and the breakaway tab on the hot side wasn't separated, what would happen there? Well, what would happen there is that the switch just completely wouldn't work. It wouldn't trip the breaker. It would have hot connection from the back of the outlet as well as across the outlet, you know, from both wires, but it's still all coming from the same place. So it's just a connection is a connection on the hot side, and it wouldn't trip the breaker, just the switch wouldn't work. One other thing I should mention is that all wire connections should be made inside a junction box, as they're places that heat builds up. So let's say you had a hot on both sides, hot on the hot and hot on the neutral. Well, that can give 220 volts, and that would be really bad because the wire size for outlets, it's a number 12 wire, and when you have a 220 volt outlet, you need a number 10 wire at least. You know, it's a larger size capacity wire for the amount of voltage that's crossing through the wire and the amount of temperature that the wires are able to reach. So if you had like two outlets behind a washing machine and you thought, I want to hook up a 220 volt dryer where my washing machine is, and I'll just grab one hot from one leg of an outlet and one hot from the other, it's not going to work. It might work, but it could cause a fire because the wire capacity size is not enough to handle the voltage and the temperature that's reached. So I just thought I'd go over some of the common errors and cause and effects that can happen with outlets. You know, mostly you want to mimic what you see on your existing outlets and existing switches. You might also check out my recent video on wire size names and nomenclature. Primer. It's just a primer video on how the number sizes are determined, 12-2, 10-3, and you know, NMB and what all those things mean on the wiring.
Walking through this world, I can feel the pressure.